Welcome to our YouTube presentation on managing large classes. My name is Mandy Estel. I am a training specialist, and I'll be the host for the call today. This training is designed to help you hone your leader instructor skills and to efficiently handle larger than usual class sizes. This is part of a series of video presentations designed to help you become an expert in many of the aspects of being or becoming a better instructor. With me today on this training, I have Beth Kirshner, who will be helping us. Beth, are you ready to help our instructors with ideas and suggestions that will help us all to better manage the extra large classes we're occasionally asked to handle?
Yes, I am. Hi everyone, I'm Beth Kirshner, and I'm going to help Mandy Estel introduce you to tips, techniques, and better practices that will help you manage these large classes and have them go smoothly and efficiently with the least amount of stress possible.
Great. So, Beth, why don't you go over with our instructors what exactly we mean when we're referring to a large class for the purpose of this training?
Okay, the large classes that we're talking about are not just those occasional classes where you get more participants than you'd prepared for, or when you need to call in a second instructor. Today we're talking about when you receive an assignment that says your class, and if it's a full-service class, your full-service class will have a lot of participants, 80 for example. And for a situation like this, the name of the game is going to be prompt client contact, preparation, and more preparation.
Right. Even if it was a community class, you're still going to need to make sure that you have extra preparation. It's a really big responsibility for the instructor who's listed as the lead instructor in when to work, isn't it? Let's talk a little bit about the lead instructor's role, extra actions, which performed ahead of time might make things to go smoothly.
Okay, let's use that 80-person example. As the lead instructor, you'd have to coordinate at least 4 other instructors to work with you. If that many aren't available, you want to make the best use of the instructors available and enlist the help of instructor aides to fill in the gap. First, you'll have to speak with your client contact, making sure they understand your need to plan ahead and pay extra attention to logistics due to the large number. We'll discuss that more. Then you'll need to confirm with the other instructors assigned, communicating and coordinating the day of class details, as well as any day before preparation setup that might need to be done due to the size of the class. Ideally, you'll want to have enough instructors to have one for every 12 to 15 participants. Check with your training specialist if you feel the staffing isn't adequate.
Okay, so let's look at some of these issues in more detail. Here's some good suggestions.
Yeah, speak with the client about the space. Will the client allow you to preview it? It's much easier to be flexible about less than ideal spaces with your usual classes of 12, but it's hard to roll with it when you've got 80 people. Would the client agree to let you use the room the day prior to set up ahead of time?
Also, I know in my experience that getting in and out of a classroom, like the load in and the load out, can get pretty tricky, especially if you're working in a company or teaching in a company that has big, high-security corporations and industries. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, true. So add to your questions. Do I and all my instructors need to be security checked and badged in each time we enter? And once we're through security, will someone direct us to the closest load-in point? Are there elevators or steps to navigate? And will there be anyone who can give us a hand? Last, how's the audio set up? Can I sound check it with my equipment the day before? And if not, how early can I get in before class time to get this done? Will I need to find a microphone or extra speakers, or is the facility equipped? Are there video monitors that will be visible to all the participants, or is there one big enough in the front to be visible to 80 people while they're doing skills? It'll help to know if you have to break the class into shifts, but we all agree it'd be much better to avoid that chaos and have everyone train at one time.
There's definitely a lot to think about, and I can definitely understand why extra preparation is the key to having a successful class.
Sure is. And you have to communicate all these intricate details to every single member of your teaching team.
Okay, so to follow along with that, let's talk about some tips when a lead instructor is trying to coordinate with co-instructors.
Well, as it says here, it's important to make sure that each of your co-instructors has a copy of the full service agreement and that all the information on it is up to date and accurate with the new information you're getting from your client communication. The co-instructors will need all the information about the building and location of the training room. In some cases, clients have more than one training location, and the address on the SOA or addendum may either have the wrong location or a billing address. Go over all these details with each of your co-instructors. Arrange a conference call if it's convenient. Your training specialist can set you up with that. And if this is a community class, make sure all of the instructors have all the information and are familiar with the facility and the training room. Communication between instructors can be done via group text or group email or conference call, but if you're using the text or the email, make certain that you're hearing back from each and every one of your co-instructors. Consult your training specialist if you need help planning or help with client contact or equipment planning.
All right, let's look closer at some of the specific details we'll need to clarify with each instructor.
Let's go over parking. Frequently, clients are specific about where the vehicles need to be parked. In this case, you'll have a lot of them, especially in urban settings where there's not a lot of available parking. And security, as we mentioned, some places will require checking IDs and have you wear a badge. That takes extra time. And setup plan, is it in advance or is it day of? Many hands make a lighter load.
Also, the lead instructor needs to think about teaching assignments when working with co-instructors. You want to make sure that this is decided ahead of time so each instructor is prepared for what segment or component that is expected of them to teach. And sometimes you might want to talk to the training specialist and find out if the topic should be split up or if just one person should teach based on who you're teaching with. Also, equipment and supplies. You're going to want to delegate out and make sure that you know who's going to be bringing what mannequins, what AED trainers, what first aid kits, and making sure that all of that is clear and communicated to everyone. And then talking about paperwork delegation, Beth, you want to kind of expound upon that a little bit more?
Yeah, that's a whole subject there. Paperwork can get very complicated when you have this big of a class, so split up the work. While one instructor is teaching, the other instructors can be compiling paperwork and checking for accuracy and legibility with each group. Checking the numbers to make sure they all add up helps too. Count the participants. Would it help to keep a separate overall sign-in sheet? Does the client use a sign-in sheet, and can you compare to theirs? Are they going to want a copy of our course record addendums, our rosters? It's good to note that in some areas, we're now requiring separate sign-in sheets turned in with your course record and course record addendums. So check with your training specialist to see if it's required in your area.
Thanks. It's also important to make sure that you communicate about the meeting time for setup so that everyone is going to be showing up at the facility at the same time to help set up. Okay, let's talk about some best practices for managing the crowd. Some of these points we've touched on a little bit, but there's some good things to go over. Remember that we will break up the classroom into sections for each of the instructors to watch when skills need to be individually checked off. It may be a good idea to provide a clipboard for each section to review or finish paperwork. Co-instructors can use a long video segment or a lecture section to ensure the paperwork or roster is correct and completed. It's a good idea to have your participants sign in on the sign-in sheet, as we talked about in the last slide. And each instructor can copy the student's name to the course record and addendum. That way you know that it's legible and that you can read it. And when you send it in, there won't be any questions. It's also good to have each group promote the CAP survey individually in their section and collect them at the end for compilation. instructor will need to make sure that they're completely filled out. That means if it's a full-service client, that their name's on it and the location code is on it. Also remember, each co-instructor should be reminded to keep their group orderly and not get too loud. We want to make sure that you're being respectful to the instructor that's up front and teaching, and large groups can tend to be noisy. So just want to make sure that you are keeping the group that's assigned to you focused on the lead instructor.
Definitely. Let's look at what needs to be taken care of when the class is completed.
We have everyone so prepared that all of your co-instructors so prepared that by the time that they get in the class and they're working together, it should make wrap-up much easier.
Well, yeah, but remember, all instructors are equally responsible for the cleanup. The mannequins have to be taken care of. Everything needs to be packed. The room has to be left in the condition in which you found it or better. And again, many people helping make it a lot easier. The lead instructor ultimately is responsible for the paperwork, but he or she might decide to delegate the task, but there's no delegating the responsibility. The paperwork must be legible, correct, and submitted on time. And don't forget to check and include those CAP surveys. A good final thought when working with other similarly equipped instructors: make certain that your tools, equipment, and belongings are marked with identification.
Great. Well, thank you, Beth, for helping and being with me today to help lead the call and to point out some of the best practices when teaching and managing large classes. They certainly can be a challenge, but they're also exciting and fun, and they afford opportunities for instructors to be able to work with other talented co-instructors. So making sure that you're prepared when you go in is going to make sure that you have a successful class.
Thank you for having me, Mandy. Instructors and co-instructors, I'll see you out there. Good luck.
Thanks for attending the call today. Remember to mark down the attendance word, which is online. This is training 2 of 3 for the September 2014 WebEx series. You'll need to get all 3 attendance words and send them to your training specialist for credit for attending the training today. Thank you.